A good goalkeeper is worth half a team, that's what pundits say. However, a keeper may also let the team down, whether it's a red card or an unexpected injury, so one of the outfield players has no choice but to play in goal. It happened not so long ago. Cameroon played the Comoros Islands in the African Cup of Nations, round of 16. The islanders were left without a single keeper, so a 172cm tall left back had to become a keeper for the rest of the game. That story made us recall some others, so this video is about the outfield players who had to put on gloves for a change. But before we begin, there's a usual mini quiz. Which of these keepers started his career as a midfielder? David De Gea, Keylor Navas, Petr Cech, Thibaut Courtois. Leave your answers in the comments, and now let's get into it. John Terry. The away game against Reading in the 2006-07 season was memorable in a number of ways. Petr Cech suffered that very injury that made him wear the helmet for the rest of his career. He collided with the Reading midfielder Stephen Hunt and got a serious skull injury. Fortunately, the team medical staff were there to save his life. Cech was substituted by Carlo Cudicini, but he got injured too. That's what made that game special for John Terry, as he was the one to stand in goal. So John Terry had the task in hand, protect the 1-0 lead. The red card John Obi Mikel received in the 84th minute made things even harder for John. What we remember his goalkeeping for is playing the ball from the free kick with his fist and wasting time in a most shameless way. However, Chelsea didn't concede and got the 3 points, and that's what matters. Rio Ferdinand. Another English centre-back had to put on goalkeeper's gloves too. It happened in the FA Cup quarter-final. Manchester United played Portsmouth. Edwin van der Sar got injured and was subbed off. Tomasz Kuszczak took his place in goal, but in the 76th minute he was sent off for a professional foul. As a result, Man United had to play 14 minutes with an outfield player in goal, and the one to take that responsibility was Rio Ferdinand. He had to save the penalty from Sally Montari. Unfortunately, he didn't save it, and Montari scored an opener for Portsmouth. Even though United had to play with a man down, they were in full control of the ball, so that penalty was pretty much the only thing Ferdinand had to do as a goalkeeper. However, United's possession brought them no end product. They lost, and Portsmouth won the FA Cup later that season. John OShea. Just like Rio Ferdinand, John OShea, his teammate, had to do the same thing a year later against Tottenham. As he said after the game, first it was Ferdinand to play in goal, but the coaching staff told Rio to stay in defense and John to put on gloves. Frankly speaking, it was quite an easy game for United. They were leading 4-0, but in the 85th minute Van der Sar broke his nose as he collided with the Spurs striker Robbie Kane. The Dutchman couldn't keep on playing, but United had already used all 3 substitutions. They were forced to put an outfield player, and that was John OShea. And he did pretty well. First he punched away the cross from a free kick, and then he managed to save a one-on-one from Robbie Kane. There were a lot of jokes about OShea after that game. He had to change his position and start playing goalkeeper, people were saying. But John said that he wasn't the hero, as instead he praised Van der Sar for making a couple of crucial saves in the first half. Felipe Mello. In 2012, Felipe Mello proved that he can be useful not only as a midfielder, but as a keeper as well. Galatasaray played Elazığspor and were leading 1-0, but in the 88th minute, Fernando Muslera's professional foul left the referee no choice but to send him off, so the game turned extremely tense all of a sudden. As Galatasaray had already made all the subs, it had to be one of the outfield players to put on gloves, and that was Felipe Mello. The Brazilian, who's 183 centimeters tall, was not the tallest of all the Galatasaray players, which makes us think there were other things in Fatih Terim's mind, not height. First thing Mello had to do was save a penalty. Few expected him to make it, and you can imagine how surprised the spectators were to see him save the shot and then keep the clean sheet. However, we must admit that it wouldn't be the same nowadays, as Mello came off the line long before the shot was taken. Now such things are noted by VAR and the penalty taker has to shoot again. Harry Kane. Harry Kane, in his turn, wasn't that successful in goal. It was the 2014-15 season. Tottenham played Osteras, the Greek side, in the Europa League group stage. It was a wonderful game for Kane. He scored a hat-trick, but then Hugo Lloris was sent off and there were no substitutions left. One of the outfielders had to replace him in goal, and it was Harry Kane, one of the tallest Tottenham players, to take the responsibility. Tottenham had a comfortable 5-0 lead when it happened. As for Harry, he had to save a dangerous free kick from a close distance. The ball came straight to Harry's hands, but he was unable to hold it. He dropped the ball and conceded a goal. "It was a great night until I went in goal," said Harry after the game. "In fairness, I think I'll leave that to the keepers from now on. I used to imagine myself playing in goal, but I wasn't happy when I had to save that free kick. It's a shame I conceded such a goal." The game ended 5-1, but Harry's goalkeeping is something he'd rather forget. Jan Koller. This Czech striker was a really tall one, 202 centimeters. In the season 2002-2003, Jan Koller had a chance to put his height to use in goal, the position that seemed to fit him the most. His team, Borussia Dortmund, played an away game against Bayern. Borussia was leading 1-0 despite playing a man down. Frings was sent off, but then Bayern scored twice, and Jens Lehmann, the Borussia keeper, got a second yellow for arguing with the ref. There were still 20 minutes remaining and no substitutions left. Jan Koller came to the rescue. He was the one to stand in goal. We must admit that he showed some solid goalkeeping. First, he neutralized the one-on-one threat and then saved an extremely powerful shot from Michael Ballack. And neither Jan forgot about his attacking duties. In the last minutes, he ran to the opponent's goal as his team was to take a corner. Unfortunately, he didn't find the late equalizer. That's a pity. What a story it would have been. Mladen Petric. Another Borussia player who happened to play in goal and also did more than well, but at that time Mladen Petric was a Basel player. It was November 2006 when Basel faced Nancy in the UEFA Cup group stage. In the 19th minute, when the score was 2-2, the French side went on a counter and Costanzo, the Basel keeper, had to fall. As a result, he was sent off and Nancy was awarded a penalty. It was Petric to replace him for the rest of the game. He wasn't the tallest one, just like Mello, so once again it wasn't about height. So Petric put on a goalkeeper's jersey and got ready for Michel Cretin's shot. And not only he parried it, he nearly caught the ball. And just like Felipe Mello, Mladen came off the line, thus breaking the rules. However, there was no VAR back in the days, and the referee didn't pay too much attention to this. Cosmin Mozi. The goalkeeping performance from the Romanian defender from Ludogorets, Cosmin Mozi, was even more impressive. Interestingly, his best match ever happened to be against a Romanian team. In August 2014, Ludogorets played Steaua in the Champions League qualifiers. The first leg was won by the Romanian side 1-0, but in the second leg Ludogorets forced extra time. In the 117th minute, Stoyanov, the keeper, was sent off, and it did look like Steaua was going to win and advance to the group stage, by penalties or not. But then Mozi stood in goal, and did more than anyone could have ever asked from him. First, he scored, and then saved 2 shots by the opponents. And yet again he came off the line a couple of times. However, his saves made Ludogorets reach the Champions League group stage for the first time in the club's history and faced the likes of Real Madrid and Liverpool. Phil Jagielka. Phil Jagielka, the former England and Everton defender, had a chance to play in goal too. His Sheffield United played Arsenal in 2006, and it was probably the best game of that season for Jagielka. The Blades scored a goal late in the first half, but in the 61st minute, Paddy Kenny, the Sheffield goalkeeper, got injured and there wasn't a backup keeper to come in as a sub. And that's why it was Phil who came to the rescue while his team had to protect the lead for half an hour. And who would have known that Phil would be the true hero of the match? Indeed, he looked like an experienced goalkeeper as he kept catching or punching the ball away after every cross or corner. In addition to that, in the very end, Phil made a wonderful save and made the Arsenal striker Robin van Persie mad. As a result, Phil helped Sheffield United secure the most important win, and that's a pity that wasn't enough for the Blades to stay up. The goal difference made them face relegation, and Phil Jagielka in his turn left for Everton. Kyle Walker. This Englishman also had to put on gloves and not so long ago. In 2019, Manchester City played Atalanta in the Champions League group stage. This story does differ from the others. The score was 1-1, and in the 81st minute, Claudio Bravo was sent off. Even though there were substitutions left, there wasn't a backup keeper to take his place. Manchester City decided to make an interesting move. Kyle Walker, wearing a goalkeeper's jersey, came as a sub as Riyad Mahrez was subbed off. 178 cm tall Kyle had to deal with a free kick straight away. However, Kyle Walker's story wasn't the same as Harry Kane's. Atalanta's free kick wasn't that dangerous, so he managed to save it, even though the ball could have ended up in the net. In the remaining minutes, Kyle had little to none work to do as he only caught the ball once. That game ended in a draw 1-1, and Walker didn't concede despite his team playing with a man down. Vinnie Jones. Before he became a well-known actor, famous for starring in Guy Ritchie's movies, Vinnie had a decent career in football as a midfielder. But he also happened to play in goal while at Wimbledon. It was an away game against Newcastle, 47 minutes in. Wimbledon were trailing 0-3 and were left without their first choice keeper to make things even worse. Left with no choice, the Wimbledon coach told Vinnie to stand in goal, and that decision pretty much saved the team from the biggest defeat in the Premier League history. Vinnie Jones did pretty well during the first 12 minutes. He made a stunning double save worthy of the best goalkeepers, but then unfortunately conceded a goal. A precise shot into the top corner left Vinnie no chance. He almost saved the second one from Rio Ferdinand, but was well beaten by Philip Albert's exquisite finish. That Newcastle was a most solid team and a Premier League contender. However, they squandered the 9-point lead and lost the title to Man United. So taking that into consideration, we can say that Vinnie Jones' debut as a keeper was quite a success. Rodrigo Palacio. The former Inter striker, Rodrigo Palacio, is yet another outfielder who happened to try himself in goal. Inter played Verona in Coppa Italia and Nerazzurri were leading 2-0. But in the 18th minute, Luca Castellazzi was injured and had to come off. Inter was left without a keeper and with no subs. Everybody was surprised to see none other than Palacio, 176 cm tall, putting on gloves. But in the end, it was him to replace the injured Nerazzurri keeper. However, the goalkeeping from Palacio was a very pleasant surprise for the Inter fans. He was playing in the most cold-blooded way and made a very good save shortly before the final whistle. And in the end, Rodrigo kept the clean sheet without too much trouble, while Inter advanced to the quarter-final. Jose Enrique. Jose Enrique was a first-choice Liverpool defender, but there was a time when he faced his old club, Newcastle, as a goalkeeper. In the 2011-12 season, Newcastle had their eyes set on the top 4, while the Scousers got stuck in a mid-table position. 2 goals from Papi Cissé brought Newcastle a comfortable 2-0 lead, and at the end of the game, Pepe Reina lost his nerve, headbutted James Perch, and was sent off. There were no substitutions left for Liverpool, and Kenny Dalglish told Jose Enrique, who had recently moved from Newcastle, to stand in goal. And he did. But to be honest, there wasn't too much work for Enrique, as he only punched away a cross from the left-hand side once. The Newcastle players were more than happy with the scoreline and weren't too eager to attack. But anyway, Jose Enrique didn't concede a single goal in more than 10 minutes. As we can see, sometimes outfielders do well as goalkeepers, despite their lack of experience. Even though they didn't stay in goal for too long, the majority of them did their job and didn't let their opponents score. And some of them were good enough to become heroes and went down in history. Dear friends, are there any other outfielders in goal you remember? If you do remember some, let us know in the comments. We'd like to know if we forgot someone. Thanks for watching, see you soon.